Ready? Okay, I don't have a gavel, so I'm just going to have to holler at you and use my microphones. If you'd come to attention, please. Would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated. Madam Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Member Vasquez. And Ms. Vasquez did provide notice of her absence this evening, so it will be an excused absence for the record. Member Welty.
Here.
Member Jondro.
Here.
Member Marshall. And Member Marshall did state she would be here this evening, so if she does arrive, then I'll note that for the record. Member Hartwick.
Here.
Member Douglas.
Here.
Member Gilmer, and he did announce his absence this evening, so for the record, he will have an excused absence.
Mr. Chairman, we do have a quorum this evening.
Okay, first item of business is the staff attorney would like to address the audience and the board regarding Campbell versus the City of St. Cloud, case number
Mr. Chairman, before we do that, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, the approval of the minutes can be handled, and then
Thank
we'll
you.
address it. Absolutely.
I forgot that.
Certainly.
I move we approve the minutes from the June meeting.
I second them.
Been moved and second for approval of the past meeting. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Now, as I was about to say, thanks, Jack, catching me. Mr. Morrison would like to talk to us on a past case, number 2019 AP 000030 AP, City of St. Cloud versus William Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Appreciate you allowing me just a little bit of time. This is just an update for the board. There's nothing for the board to do. This is just a bit of an update on a case that was heard by this board sometime, amazingly, I guess it was back in 2019. I can't believe it's that far back. But the applicant at 816 Maryland had sought a special exception for an accessory structure which the board considered and approved back at the time of that hearing. The exact date of the hearing escapes me. At the time of the presentation, it was the position of the city that the applicant did not qualify for the exception, but the board felt otherwise by its vote on that evening. The city took an appeal, as it's legally allowed to do. Any applicant or respondent can appeal a decision of this board. The appropriate appellate relief is to the Circuit Court for Osceola County. The city took an appeal on this particular case, and the decision of the circuit panel came back last month. Judge Schreiber signing on behalf of Judge Wooten and Madrigal as well, finding in favor of the city that the applicant's case did not put into the record substantial competent evidence in order to support the application. So there's nothing for this board to do. It was just an advisory point that I wanted to bring to the board's attention. It does serve as a bit of a reminder that in these proceedings, which are typically for, as we're going to see tonight, with variance applications, but could be with special exceptions or what have you, the applicant or whichever direction the board wishes to make its decision has to be supported by substantial competent evidence. And so I can hear you thinking, well, okay, what's the definition of substantial competent evidence? It's essentially something more than opinion, okay? It's legally sufficient evidence that reasonable minds would accept to support a conclusion, is essentially what the cases provide. That doesn't give you a lot of guidance, all right? In your collective life experience, you'll know what feels to you as though it's something beyond opinion and provided by substantial competent evidence. And you can collectively differ on what is substantial competent evidence. That's part of your deliberation as a board. But that's just a point that I wanted to bring up. The special exception was quashed, and so it doesn't exist with regard to that property with that structure. Okay? Nothing for the board to do. It's just a point that we felt you would want to be interested in having updated. So with that, the only other item, if I could, is there any questions of me? I don't really have much to address other than that, but I'm happy to take questions.
Is that a final decision, or does he go back before the,
It's a final decision. The order was quashed. So,
Okay.
Yes.
due to the lapse in time, has he thought he had a variance or an exception? I can't remember which
It
way.
was a special exception.
Special
That was
exception.
sought. That's
Had
now.
he started construction and had to,
Yes. Those are all issues that are beyond the board.
I get that.
And those would be specific to the participants.
well, I just want to make
Of
sure
course, I
for
understand.
future rulings.
Sure, it's a natural question, but beyond the scope of this board. But in any event, what's key for the board in moving forward is just the piece with regard to the substantial competent evidence, which you, as you know, we've talked about, and on each of these motions, I always am a broken record reminding the board in your motion to make sure you've expressly stated you've considered the factors that create the need to support an application or in denial of a motion on a particular application. But anyway, that's all I wanted to share with the board on that issue. If there's are there any other questions on that? Okay, thank you for that time. Just one other housekeeping point, stealing the thunder of Madam Clerk. Our chairperson, acting chairperson is Mr. Welty. At the last meeting, is my recollection, the board agreed to table the election of officers because we had some new board members until we had a full board, thinking it would be at this meeting. We did not have it, but it was not placed on an agenda for tonight to have an election for the annual positions. And so I suggested to the clerk that we place it on the next meeting agenda for the election of chair and vice chair. So just making you all aware of that recommendation. All right? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, sir.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Moving along to item number 3 on the agenda, case number BOA 20-00002, Brandon Dixon's property at 1790 Raymond Drive versus the City of St. Cloud. Anyone from the audience wishes to present regarding this? Is that you, ma'am?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, and Ms. Douglas is a voting member this evening, so all of you will be voting tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, would you step forward, identify yourself, please?
Good evening. My name is Anastasia Barnes. I'm the principal planner with the Planning and Zoning Division.
Okay, we normally ask the speakers for an address. Do you live in the City of St. Cloud, or?
I do not, but I do work for the city, so.
Thank you.
1300 9th. So tonight, the first case is BOA 20-0002, 1790 Raymond Drive. As you see in the slide before you, the request is to reduce the required rear setback for a rear addition to an existing principal structure, which is a single-family home. Per the Land Development Code, Article 3, Zoning Regulations, Table 3, 4, Development Regulations by Zoning District, the request is to reduce the rear setback by 5 feet to accommodate a proposed addition to a single-family dwelling within the R1A zoning district. That reduction will result in a 20-foot rear setback. As you can see, the surrounding zoning is R1A around the subject property, and the future land use is low-density residential. This is legally described as Lot 12 of Lorraine Estates, Unit 3. The proposed rear addition is approximately 355 square feet in size. And the addition will be attached to an existing single-family residence, approximately 2,719 square feet in size. Here is the survey provided by the applicant. As you can see in blue, that is the approximate proposed addition to the rear of the home. This is the existing conditions where that addition will be placed. The board shall make findings that the requirements, section 3.4.2 D1A through F have or have not been demonstrated by the applicant. The board may approve this application, approve with conditions, or deny. Staff is supporting and requesting approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and I believe the applicant is here as well.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and it may be an opportune time to remind the applicant of the four-member board this evening with regard to the applicant's right for consideration. For a variance matter, in order to receive approval, the applicant will need to receive 3 affirmative votes pursuant to the Land Development Code. And so we have a 4-member board here this evening, but a full board would be 5 members. And so historically, the chairman has typically, and the board has allowed the applicant to consider continuing their matter until there's a full board. It's entirely up to the applicant. I just thought I would mention that to the chairman.
Since you're not the applicant, is the applicant here? Can the applicant
Yes.
stipulate that?
Ms. Barnes is here on behalf of the city.
Yes,
She's
Oh,
here.
so,
I'm the city.
okay,
The applicant is here.
I understand that, but do you want to take charge in that and say, yes, we want to move forward, or does he want to? That's my
It's up to
question.
the applicant.
Is the applicant here?
Yes.
Yeah, he
I
said
think
he's
the
right over there.
applicant
He needs
should
to come
come to the podium and communicate whether they wish to proceed.
Hello,
Would you identify yourself, please, sir?
Brandon Dixon.
Thank you.
It's my first time doing this.
That's okay, Mr. Dixon, just state your address for the board.
1790.
Hey, nobody screws up more than me, man, it's
That's
okay.
all right. That's all right.
I'm cool.
1790 Raymond Drive, St. Cloud, Florida.
As I was explaining to the chairman, the board has it's a 5-member board, and the applicant tonight, you would need, in order to get this variance approved, you would need 3 affirmative votes, and because there's less than a full board, historically, the board has allowed the applicant to decide whether to proceed with a 4-member or a 3-member board, as it's tonight for, or to continue until the next full board meeting. So it's entirely up to you, but we just wanted to get that on the record if you wish
Okay.
to proceed.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, we can continue tonight.
Proceed.
Yeah, proceed.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. I guess, unless anyone has any questions of Mr. Dixon. Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay.
I do have a question for the city.
Oh, and also, Chair Welty, if I may, if everyone can speak loudly and clearly into the mic.
Thank you. Okay, I'm looking at the pictures
Mm-hmm.
and the proposal. Just educate me. This 25 minimum, normal, would not include pool enclosures and stuff?
Correct.
It's
yes.
different when you're adding a pool enclosure?
Correct. Those
Only when
would,
you're adding a permanent building?
so accessory, the screen enclosure and the pool would need to meet accessory structure and setbacks.
Different
So
setbacks
it's
than
reduced.
permanent structures?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other board questions or comments? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would just recommend calling for public comment
Oh.
prior to the closing of the public meeting.
Public comment?
If anyone wishes to address the board with regard to this case.
Okay, now, hearing none, the board will entertain it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I believe the request satisfies the 6 criteria described in section 3.4.2, looks like D.1, and recommend approval of the requested variance.
I second.
Been moved and seconded to entertain the motion to approve Mr. Dixon's variance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Was that 4-0?
Yep.
Okay, it's passed 4-0, it's approved.
Congratulations, Mr. Dixon. Okay, let's move forward to case number BOA 20-0000333200, 13th Street variance, the Mark Trailer Park in the city of St. Cloud. Speaking for the city of St. Cloud.
Yes, again for the record, Anastasia Barnes, Planning and Zoning Division. This next case before you is BOA 20-00003. This is a variance request to increase the max height of a 6-foot tall perimeter fence to allow an 8-foot tall fence. And this is subject to section 3.20.2B2 of the Land Development Code. The current zoning is MH2, and the future land use is high-density residential. The proposed section of this perimeter fence will be located along Highway 192 and is specifically located on the portion identified as Tract C on the submitted surveys. So this is Tract C, and it'll be along, the next slide will show along 192. This is one of the pictures that was included demonstrating the slope or current conditions of where the proposed fence will be. Staff recommends approval of this variance. The board shall make findings that the requirements of section 3.4.2 D1A through F have or have not been demonstrated by the applicant. You may approve this application, approve with conditions or safeguards, or deny. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have, and I believe the applicant is here as well.
Questions to her from the board members?
Does the fence impede anything for the neighbors, or?
No, because it's along 192, not that I know of, but I think that'll be best for the applicant to answer as well. So,
Mr. Chairman, probably best also to advise the applicant whether the applicant wishes to proceed.
Yeah,
Since it's
No, I had a question about,
go ahead.
no, I guess for the applicant would be,
is the applicant here?
I have a question, and maybe you can answer it, but more than he. My question is there any safety considerations to be made here that we should be made aware of?
I think, you know, this is not in a visibility triangle where it's proposed. Let me go back. That I'm aware of, and, you know, certainly that would be a safety concern. But as you see on the slide, it's just along 192.
is there any breaks in that work? Does traffic enter from any point on that?
No, they're all private.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any members of the audience who wish to speak to this,
Mr.
please
Chairman,
step forward.
Mr. Chair, I believe the applicant wishes to address the.
Yeah, have you filled out one of these cards, sir? Okay, you're on.
Sir, are you the applicant? Yes, but if you could come to the podium and.
Oh.
If, again, as I explained to the prior applicant, it's less than a full board, so
Yeah,
you wish
well-
to proceed?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. John Kendall, the Mark Mobile Home Park. She only showed one of the pictures. Is there a possibility to show the other pictures?
They're in the application.
Okay. If you have the application packet, and you'll see a good-looking gentleman standing there.
The one that looks vaguely like you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I got that one.
When the DOT redid the roads there, they raised that whole section up approximately 2 feet from where the ground level used to be. So when we first applied for the permit, they said you only allowed a 6-foot high fence. So in reality, it'll only look like a 4-foot high fence, which would defeat the purpose of what we're trying to do is, you know, have a little more hidden view from the road to the mobile homes that presently look. And also, if you see me standing there, we did an 8-foot high post that shows where the fence would be. So technically, in reality, it'll end up being approximately 6 feet after we put the 8-foot high fence in. Because they raised that whole sidewalk section up. And back in 2013, when DOT was putting this whole road remodel together, construction, they proposed to the Mark Mobile Home Park, to the owners, to put up a 12-foot high cement wall. And the Mark owners decided that they felt at that time it wouldn't look like an appealing look as people would come into the park seeing this big, huge 12-foot wall barricade up along 192, and they did that out of consideration for the city looks. But now, we know that most of the residents, actually all the residents, even the HOA has presented to us, they've been trying for us to be able to fork over the money to put in the budget to put up this fence. And overall, I think it would be a better look for the community as they drive down 192. And also, it's not a security measure, it's more for looks. And a little sound also, because the traffic is widened and a lot more on 192. And that's all I have to say. But look at the pictures. You see the height difference. I took as many as possible. And it just kind of shows that we'll be down in the valley with the fence. And it doesn't impede anybody. Any questions while I'm here?
I might be missing it, but what will be the composition of this fence? What will it be made out of?
It'll be white PVC fence.
Okay.
Yeah, the good-looking stuff.
You don't have the same packet we have, do you?
I emailed that whole pack to Ann, I believe, to the city of St. Cloud. Does it show all the pictures there? I have more pictures.
I hope so.
There should be about 5 pictures altogether.
I have. No, I got it. I'm just
There's
wondering
a
for
couple
little-
pictures
for a
that show me
little
standing
more
there.
explanation here.
Okay.
on which way I'm going. This is 13th Street, right?
No, that's, oh, no, that's 192.
Which is 13th Street.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Yeah, I'm from
That was-
Tampa, sorry.
That was where I was going.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. I mean, too many things got too many names here in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay, so my follow-up to that, I guess, is, aren't there other trailers up and down that way? Well, obviously not
Well,
towards the western end, I guess.
if you
But
see,
towards the eastern end, that are just as close to the sidewalk, wouldn't they benefit from the fence too?
oh, well, the trailers, because we own the park and all the trailers are there, all the trailers line up diagonally along like Elm Street, Pine Avenue, Walnut, and Maple, and Magnolia. So it'll hide those trailers, basically.
Going back through town, you've got then his,
Folks,
their office.
Mr. John Rowe, Mr. John Rowe, I'm sorry, everybody's got to be on the microphone. We have
I'm
to
sorry.
be on the mic, I'm sorry. Did you want to make
I
those?
was just explaining that the lower section that he's talking about, there aren't trailers, it's the office and the shuttleboard court, and then the open field going to Mercury Marine, if I'm correct.
Right, it'll just be all the trailer section that's being covered. We're not covering the office building or the library that's there, well, our library, extra building there, that's in the center pretty much of the fencing. We're not,
So the answer to my question is, and then going east on this map, there are in fact other trailers down there. And maybe they're not year-round, full-time trailers.
oh no,
So
they're
I-
all year-round permanent residents.
Oh, I got the impression that that end was kind of, the Mercury Marine end, if you will, is kind of reserved for people who aren't there year-round.
No, they're year-round residents. They own
Thank
their
you.
own homes, permanent.
And there are, I don't mean to jump in, but there are trailers down on that end, but they're much further off the road.
Yeah, they're off the road. They're, I would say, anywhere from 10 to 15 feet away from, well, from the sidewalk, 10 to 20 feet from the sidewalk.
If you move, can I go again? Everybody else? If you move this fence closer to the sidewalk, couldn't you dispense or solve the 6-foot-high, 8-foot post picture problem?
Well, of my understanding is where these lines are for the fence line, that's our property line. So we're staying within the easement. And also, when they redid 13th Street, 192, there's an underground drainage system there that they put in. It used to be exposed, and they covered it all. And I would really hate to try to dig down and do anything with digging posts and ruining that system. And I think just for future, it'd be best to stay on our property line instead of trying to, for an easement to go into the easement property of the DOTs.
Does anybody have any idea how many other 8-foot-high fences there are around the city of St. Cloud?
Well, if I could, Mr. Chairman, the Land Development Code doesn't allow the board to consider other properties in other zones for purposes of this application. So I understand the logic of the question, sir.
Right, thank you.
Procedure, yes.
And again, when you walk down the sidewalk, it'll just be approximately a 6-foot look height because they raise the road up.
Any other questions? Any other speakers from the audience?
Anyone that wishes to address the board, please come to the podium. Just identify yourself with your address, and please make sure to submit one of your identity cards to our clerk.
Ma'am, have you done one of these?
I did. I filled one out.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who's going to be speaking next who hasn't filled out one of these? Everybody's filled one out. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Debbie Delaney Mullet. I am a registered nurse and a resident in the Mark Park and also the secretary of the Homeowners Association. And I'm speaking tonight to support the approval of the 8-foot fence versus the 6-foot. And the information I ask you to consider is in approving the variance is based on the negative health outcome from noise-induced hearing loss. Noise-induced hearing loss is recognized as a health hazard by both the Centers for the Disease Control and the National Institutes of Health. Sound is measured in decibels. Normal levels for conversation is 60 decibels. Noise above 70 decibels over a prolonged period of time, according to both the CDC and the National Institutes of Health, starts to damage a person's hearing. Loud noises over 120 decibels can cause immediate harm to our ears. The noise our residents are subjected to on a continuous basis are follows. City traffic, 80 to 85 decibels. Motorcycles, 95 decibels. Car horns, 100 decibels. Emergency sirens, although necessary, 120 decibels. Jake brakes, 85 to 105 decibels. Many vehicles that use 192 are elevated above legal height, and therefore the noise they emit is higher than normal street traffic noise and ranges between 85 and 105 decibels as well. As a result of the sustained exposure to these elevated decibel noise-induced hearing loss is inevitable in our residents, and many will suffer hearing loss and require hearing aids earlier than they would have in the normal aging process. This can create a great expense for them. Please support our residents in our community and prevent untoward health outcomes, and vote in favor of the 8-foot fence variance for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any questions? Okay.
Next. Sir, would you please step forward and identify yourself and give us your address, please?
My name is Richard Carpenter. I live at 829 Lariat Lane. What we've got, it shows them that doesn't show the wall just being there. It also shows up going up my property off of Walmart. So I was just making sure this is the only place that 8-foot fence is going to go.
The petitioner's nodding his head yes.
Because this is what I got from the mail from the county. It shows them putting a fence on my backyard.
Let me, well, sir, is there a dimension on there that says the length of the fence?
No, page 204. Page 204 shows us where the fence is going to go. It doesn't show anything on 10th Street. Are you off of 10th Street?
No, sir, I'm off of McKay and Walnut. It doesn't show on the map here. But I've got, says that they want to put, what the county sent me, or the city sent me, it shows them putting up a wall also there.
Seeking feedback from the board will be happy to take your feedback, but the questions you may have may be for the applicant or for city staff. You can get clarification here
No,
this
I
evening.
just want to make sure that's the only place he's getting.
Understand.
That's it. That's right now. That's the only place he's getting variance
Well,
for.
the board won't have that answer.
Well, after the board, yeah, but he's only applying for that part, not the rest of it. Is that right?
No, I don't understand either.
the applicant will have to respond to that.
Yeah, let's ask him.
My
Okay,
point
'cause
is, my point is for you, sir, and members of the audience, certainly you're welcome to give your feedback and thoughts and position to the board, but the board will take your information, but they're not here to answer your questions. The questions that you may have can be asked or posed to city staff or to the applicant.
She's here.
Wait, is she going to speak, or are you going to?
Anyone that's going to answer any questions will have to do it on the microphone, please.
Right. Thank you, sir. If you're not done when she's done, you may want to come back. You can reserve that right.
For the record, Anastasia Barnes, city staff. I think what has happened is the whole parcel, as shown in the first slide.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, but he's got another meeting going on, he's not listening, so.
Gentlemen. Thanks for catching that. Sir, just wait a second, maybe she'll explain it.
So before you, that is not where the fence, this is the parcel location as shown on this aerial map. That is
Like this one right here. That we
correct.
got from the city.
Correct. He is showing, for the record, he's showing me his notice. This is the parcel itself, as shown on the aerial. This is the parcel. The fence portion, as shown in, is shown on Tract C.
Okay, that's what I was just, okay.
So-
How this states, it shows it's going up around my property and Miss Pam's property.
Okay,
No,
just let her continue.
It's
Thank
the parcel boundary, sir.
Okay.
So as, that is not the fence, it's the parcel boundary.
That's all I want to make sure then. That's only going to be here. I don't care. what
Yes,
else.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Explain
sir.
it to me, what I need.
Thank you. Ma'am, don't go away.
Yes.
Since he brought this question up, I too. From looking at the picture
Correct.
I've got with it highlights, I would have guessed that the fence has 4 pieces to it, intermittent pieces with breaks in the fence from 254 to 102 to 83 to 122 feet. Looking at this, is that correct?
Yes, this is my understanding. This was what was submitted from the applicant. This is the location. I believe there might be breaks as well. But yes, this is what was actually initially submitted with the building permit application. So this is the location.
So the whole fence is going to be some nearly 500 feet long.
The 254 plus the 102 plus the 83. This is what the applicant has
Plus
provided.
the 122.
Correct.
Okay, so nearly 500 feet of fence.
Mr. Welke, I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
you'll have to speak into the microphone so we
Oh.
can get you on your tape.
Sorry. She's going to hit me, isn't she? Yeah, so it's totaling nearly 500, approximately 500 feet of fence.
Correct, as shown.
Thank you for explaining that to me.
Yes.
Next, ma'am, would you please step forward, identify yourself, and give us your address?
Hello, my name is Pam Ludy. I also live on McKay Street, and according to the notice that we received in the mail,
This is the same notice he
the
had?
same thing that he
Okay.
has, and she did a fairly good job of
Thank
explaining
you.
that. But the parcel boundary that she was talking about, it's the same diagram that's used, which does include 2 sides of my property. Now, on this diagram that we received, the variance request, it is pointing directly to my property, not pointing to the C parcel. Now, I've never been to one of these meetings, and I'm really nervous. I did get this
You're doing fine.
notice in the mail.
You're doing fine.
And so I was a little freaked out because, again, it's pointing to the parcel where I live, and that fence would go on 2 sides of my property. It would go on the back side, which is Walnut, and then it would go on, which is the east side, and it would also go on the south side next to where the RVs are. So I just wasn't sure exactly what that meant. And as the gentleman back here in blue was standing here talking about that it was only going to be, it would only appear to be about a 6 foot, holding his hand about here, and I know he's at least 6 foot tall, so it would not, so I'm not here to argue against the 192 fence. That probably is a very good idea, but I just want to make sure that agreeing to that does not automatically put us in a situation where they can go ahead and put some kind of fencing up around the other properties. It would be this particular notice, the way it is shown, would be 2 sides of my property. I I'm 70 years old, I live alone, and the idea of a fence that tall on two sides of my property would cause me some concern for my safety, where someone could hide or whatever. But again, if it's just that right there on 192, I don't have a problem with that, and it's probably a good idea. But according to this notice, and the way the diagram is shown, it is pointing directly at my property.
Just so that I have an understanding, you actually live along that top line.
Make sure we're speaking into the mic.
You actually live across that top line.
Well, I can't see that top line.
Well-
Is that 10th Avenue?
Yes.
I'm on the other side of 10th, yes. So my property is in the middle between McKay and Walnut.
Right, and I see what you're
You see what I'm
questioning.
saying?
Where they put the flag, they happen to be pointing at that top right corner where it has nothing to do with the front portion.
My property is actually a little bit further down, but it's still, I mean, that section, not that C section, it's in this other section. So I just needed to know really what was going on, and that I didn't want to be fearful. I didn't want my property value reduced by having an unsightly 8-foot fence on two sides of my property. So that's all I was here to ask about. Is that
Are you
okay?
satisfied with the information you received, or you need more?
Pardon me?
Are you satisfied with the information you got already, or you need more?
Do you need clarification from the city?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, I would like that. I would-
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would suggest that the applicant come and confirm exactly where the location of the fence that's being sought for the variance will be located relative to what was submitted. If there's other people that are here tonight with the same concerns, and so that it can be on the record as to where this will actually be relative to the drawings and what was sent out in the notice.
Yeah, it's the drawing that makes it,
Excellent idea. Thanks, Jack.
thank
That's
you.
why we pay him the big bucks. I totally agree. This is confusing to me.
And you have a copy of this one where you can see that, you've got that, right? If I may, could I step forward just to point out where my property is?
Sure,
Right here?
yeah.
They're talking about this being the C.
Ma'am,
Thank
ma'am,
you.
Yeah, you're going to have to do that on the microphone.
Okay, I'm the blue, so I'm where the little blue dot is, so you can see that that fence would be on two sides of my property.
Ma'am, we're going to have to be on the microphone for this.
Yeah.
We can't have off
can't do these
microphone
little
meetings.
sidebars.
The applicant's going to speak to your concerns,
Right.
if you'd allow him to address your concerns. Thank you. Yes, of course.
Okay, what picture's showing up on the screen is the only place where the fence will be going, not near McKay Street or any place else. That other drawing, I have no idea, I guess the city sent that out to the residents. That has nothing to do with the placement of this fence where it shows right there along 13th Street, 192. It's not enclosing any trailers, and it's just along the walkway there along Route 192, 13th Street. That's it. And as far as addressing her concern, it is not going to be anywhere near her home, and she does seem to be in favor of this if it's up in the front of the property there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Let's stay there for a second. So on the picture I have, if we have the same one, the yellow line represents fence or not?
Yes, exactly what's on the screen
Okay.
behind you.
That's what I thought.
That's it.
I got something right finally.
No more than that. And we're not planning on extending it or adding to the future, just
So
that.
looking at that, it looks to me as if you're shutting off Elm Avenue.
There is no access
And,
off of 192 onto Elm.
and Pine Avenue.
There's no access to Pine
And
Avenue.
Maple Avenue.
No, there's no access to that either. The
And-
only access point is
And
to the
Magnolia,
very-
and Magnolia. I was doing
There's
them
no
all.
access point to Magnolia Avenue off of 192. They closed it all off. The only
Wait a
access
minute.
is,
It's already closed off, or you're
it's
closing
already
it off
done this.
with
Yeah, the
fence? It's already
DOT
closed.
closed it all off and put storm drains in the way, and there's no way anyone can drive in and out of there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from members of the board? Any other comments from members of the audience?
Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that, that this be approved based on the request satisfying the 6 criteria described in sections 3, 4, 2D, and 1.
I second.
It's been moved and second to approve the request from Mark Park. All those in favor, please say
Aye.
aye.
Any nay?
I was an aye. No, any nays?
4-0 approved, okay. The variance request is approved 4-0. Okay. Mr. Chairman, I think we just have the information section left on the agenda.
And our next board meeting will be December 9th, if we have any cases. If not, I will send out a cancellation notice stating that there's no cases to be heard.
And again, we'll have the annual elections for chair and vice chair at the next full meeting, and it'll be on the agenda.
Next meeting is still planned to be here until further notice?
Correct.
Thank you.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Second from someone? It's been motion.
Need a second?
Oh, second.
There you go.
I
Been
second.
moved and second to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Adjourned.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
All right, thanks.